Know what it is. Your boy DL47 on the grind, handling that business all day, revisiting as much rugby league information as possible. Right now, we're up to 9:35 wooden spoon. It's going to be a long video because there's lots of explaining that needs to be done. So stay tuned all the way to the end so you don't miss any important rugby league information. So let's go. Pop it off, dive straight into it. If you've been watching these videos, you'll know that University got the wooden spoon in 1935 Australian Rugby League, as I've mentioned many times already. And you'll also know even more humiliatingly that they lost the last 13 games in 1934 and then all 16 games in 1935 to make it 29 consecutive losses at that point, with more to come in 1936. But you'll need to watch tomorrow to find out about 1936. And even more humiliating as far as university work is concerned, the fact that they got the wooden spoon and not Canterbury. So there was an intriguing wooden spoon battle going on in 1935, so we'll just have to take our time and go through it all, one step at a time. So, University lost all 16 games, as I said. Canterbury won 2 games and lost 14 to finish in second last. But the only 2 games that Canterbury won were, in fact, both against University. Humiliatingly for University. But they thought they had a chance of at least beating Canterbury because statistically, Canterbury were worse than them. Statistically, for the season, University scored just 109 points and conceded 529, minus 420 for and against points. But Canterbury scored only 150 points and conceded 660, minus 510 for and against points by Canterbury. And part of the reason for that were the 2 biggest losses ever recorded by any team ever, even though it was in 1935, 88 years ago. 1935 round 5, Canterbury were humiliated by St George 91 points to 6. And then in round 6, humiliated again by East, 87 points to 7. So the 85 and 80 point losing margins are still the 2 biggest losing margins by any team ever. Not even University ever lost a game by 80 points. And despite that, when University got to play Canterbury twice, they still lost one and ended up with the wooden spoon. So this was their most humiliating spoon so far. This was the 8th wooden spoon that they got already. But the worst of them so far. And like I said, the only 2 games Canterbury won for the season, 1935 round 8, they beat University 21 points to 2. But that was obviously Canterbury's first ever victory because this was their first season. And then in round 17, I said there were 16 games, but every team had 2 byes, so there's actually 18 rounds. So just to clarify that. In round 17, they played again to decide the wooden spoon, and this time, Canterbury beat University 16-15, only the 1 point, but it did guarantee University would get their 8th wooden spoon. And at least for Canterbury, this was their first season, so you can forgive such poor performances because they're just like getting on their feet, just getting going, so to speak. And you can also forgive them because only 3 years later, Canterbury won their first ever grand final, beating East 19 points to 6 to win the 1938 competition. So Canterbury just off to a wretched start, but they did snap out of it not too long later. Whereas, as I've said already, in 1938, University weren't even in the competition anymore. And the moment's in the sun for the wooden spooners University, obviously there's none. I don't want to be too harsh, but obviously there's none because they lost all 16 games. If you had to say one, you'd say the 1935 round 1 game, where University only lost to South 24-19, so a close loss there, just 5 points. 1 converted try, because tries were 3 points at the time. And South, of course, ended up runners-up, losing the 1935 grand final to East 19-3. So that was there as good as it got. A close loss to South in round 1 was actually as good as it got for University. So if they have to have a moment in the sun, then give it that. But I want to know some people's opinions in the comments down below. There's 4 possible contenders for most embarrassing moment in 1935 by University. Like I said, the first contender is obviously the 85 point loss to St George and the 80 point loss to East in round 5 and round 6. That's my personal opinion. Another contender could be the fact that they lost to Canterbury twice, like I just said, in round 8, 21-2, and in round 17, 16-15. There was their round 5 game where University were slaughtered by Eastern Suburbs 61 points to 5, and he scored 15 tries in that game, believe that or not. And like I said, 3-point tries at the time. With 4-point tries, that would have been 76 points to 6, not 61-5. So, you can. Oh, and the fourth contender for most embarrassing moment for University, the fact that they got the wooden spoon instead of Canterbury. So, even though they were statistically a meagre little bit better than Canterbury, and even though they didn't lose any games by 80 or 85 points, they still got the spoon instead of Canterbury. That's also mildly humiliating. And their top try and point scorers, this is more preposterous, more inept, more inadequate, more incompetent. John Beckley, University player, got 3 tries and 6 goals for 21 points. And the other University player, Bill McCulloch, got 3 tries and 5 goals for 19 points. So the Eagle top try scorers got just 3 tries each for the whole season. And those two players are also the top point scorers with 21 points and 19 points respectively. And that's not how many points they got in any one game. That's how many points they got for the whole season. Absolutely, yes, absolute filth. So there you go, 1935 wooden spoon. There's a lot of explaining, but if you're still watching to the end, thank you very much for the ongoing continued support. 1936 wooden spoons University again tomorrow. And so is 1937, and then in 1938 someone different will get it once they're not in the competition anymore. Thank you very much for watching, the L47.